This podcast is brought to you by Primary Arms. Primary Arms seeks to provide the best shopping experience for everything firearms. With over 13,000 products from over 400 top brands, Primary Arms carries a complete selection of rifles, handguns, firearms parts, shooting gear, apparel, and more. Every order comes with a commitment to superior service, backed by fast shipping and an expert support team. Primary Arms, serving freedom since 2008. Find out more at frn.deals/PA. Hello and welcome to the AR-15 podcast. This podcast is for you if you just bought your first AR or if you've been building them for years. There is something we can all do to bring our black rifles to the next level. My name is Nick Dooley. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, slightly off screen.
Oh, slightly off screen, but we're here.
Garth Over.
Yep, but it's another podcast. It's weird because people watching on the screen, that's not me. We have a guest in studio.
Yeah, it's barely me, but we do have a guest in studio with us. So,
hey everybody, Tyler Brockel from Trigger Interactive. Thanks for having me, Dooley and Garth. This is awesome. Happy to be the first person to be in person, and I do have a little bit of surprise for you guys, and I kind of want to set a precedent here since this is your first in-studio individual. So I'm going to hand this over to you for a second, and I got something for you.
All right. Well, he's digging out whatever surprise it is. You will notice this is one where if you just listen to the audio-only version of the podcast, you're going to want to come back and most definitely watch the video on this, because if you see in the background here, ooh, look at this tasty treat.
Mm-hmm.
In the background here, we have some targets set up. And we have before expressed how much we love to shoot at steel targets.
It's a fantastic feeling. It does so much better than paper for me.
And so the Trigger Interactive we have here, this is a company and device setup, I think would be the best way to put it. Yeah. You know, it is a interactive shooting experience.
Really getting your salesman pants on with that one. Essentially, the idea behind it is, right now, especially, we're spending all this money on firearms and ammunition, and we're all going out there and we're shooting at a 5-cent piece of paper that we're just putting holes in. It's just sitting there, not really doing anything for you. And we need to really look at a way to elevate our training and get more out of every bullet that we're spending. If we're spending, 68 to 75 cents a round, man, you really want to get more out of that. And that's kind of where we're coming in to help bridge that gap.
We didn't include a training tip this week.
I don't think we need to.
Yeah, because this is most definitely one of those times where we're going to talk a lot about training as we go. And along with talking about training, we're also going to be talking about kind of some new, cool, and neat things. So this is a brand new system. I know that this is kind of the media launch event for this system. It has been out. People who went to pop-up preview at the last SHOT Show they had. Not the one for last year. The last one they had. And you may have come by and seen the system set up there, because you did have it set up, and it was the early prototype version, and had that set up to show people like, hey, this is what's coming, and we're Trigger Interactive, and we're here to show you what's going on. And since then, well, life has changed as we know it. And we're all coming to grips with Russian ammo crises, 20 million new gun owners, and a bunch of people all in a space that was not designed for that occasionally. So we have interesting training opportunities built into this.
Absolutely. So first off, the precedent I was talking about earlier is, Put that on the bloopers reel. Hit that. I thought I turned that off.
There it is, right there.
Oh. So the precedent I'm setting here is best thing when discussing firearms and training and shooting. It's definitely bourbon. So tonight, stop down at the local liquor store. We've picked up Blackened, Metallica's new bourbon that they have out, and we're going to give this a shot. So thank you guys for having me on.
Well, thank you. We also have Metallica superfan, Garth Open.
I have been to 2 concerts recently. I mean, the last one was at back in 16. No, that was the first one up at the new Viking Stadium, and what a
very cool
show that was. And then they came to Sioux Falls 3 years ago. Actually, it was on September 11th, 3 years ago, and what a show that was. So,
very neat.
Yeah, very cool.
Damn, I can't get this liberal iPhone.
But it is delicious.
Yeah, there we go.
Problem solved. Sorry, wife. I'm unavailable for the next 60 to 90 minutes.
Just never mind what's behind door number 1. But no, I think this is a great precedent to set because, well, what better than America's spirit to have to discuss America's rifle?
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, yeah. So, Dooley, I appreciate the intro. Basically, what Trigger Interactive is a modular system of patented devices that we came up with called smart target attachments. And I'm going to be kind of talking here because we are live right now. So I'll kind of show the system, show the devices, kind of explain them as best as I can. But the smart target attachments are about a 4-inch by 2-inch by 2.5-inch device that will attach to almost any off-the-shelf steel firearm targets, and it will transform them into interactive smart targets, essentially emulating the pop-up targets that the military and law enforcement use. And you guys have probably seen them also in like Call of Duty or what was it, Hogan's Heroes on the Hogan's Alley. Is that right?
Hogan's Alley on the
Hogan's
original
Alley.
Nintendo.
Absolutely.
Yes. Call of Duty, Battlefield, all of even PUBG had a pop-up range.
Right on. So I guess what's really happening here is you have the brains of the system. These devices will attach to your steel targets, and how they work is they have a active target indicator. These are a high visibility, essentially signaling apparatus. They are a 4-inch by 6-inch flat vinyl placard that clip onto these active target or the smart target attachments. They mount to the non-impact side or the back side of your steel targets. And what they'll do is they'll wirelessly communicate amongst themselves to a base station, ultimately to your phone or tablet, where you control everything, get your feedback from that point. And how they work is they will signal you which target to engage. And this is done by the active target indicator rotating out from behind the target and exposing it into your line of sight. This tells you to engage that particular target. They will drop down after a set amount of time or unless you hit it. And once you hit it, there are sensors within this device that'll read the impact on the steel plate. And that's pretty simple. That's what each individual device does. Now, once you have multiple smart target attachments paired within a system, they will wirelessly communicate with each other to orchestrate various shooting scenarios, drills, different training, and or even games here as we come out with different things. And all that is controlled through your smartphone, through your tablet, through the Trigger Interactive app. And then you can set all of your different parameters depending on what type of scenario you want to set up. So how long your targets are up, how long in between targets, how many targets up at one time, and how many times do those targets present themselves to you. And then you receive all that feedback to your phone or tablet in real time.
it is not just a flag. It is an active target indicator. What that comes up is I know I have a little bit of time with one of these systems where I've played with it a little bit more than most other people in the industry, and it's I've always said that it comes up and it's like shoot me when that flag pops up. It's you shoot the indicated target where you set 5 targets up, and if you have 5 of the smart target applicators, the stars on them, then as that pops up, the indicator, you shoot that and go, well,
give it a little more, cinch up your man panties and hit that thing like a 2-3.
Oh, I'm trying to be quiet.
Well, then give me the hammer. I don't care.
Oh, I might have it on either a lower sensitivity. Yeah. All right. Let me try that one again.
So well, I sit here and try and be quiet and delicate because loud noises translate well. We'll run this again, and as this pops up, and it's bang.
Nope. There it went.
There you go. Yeah, it's actually fairly loud in this room.
It
God bless steel targets, right? Like that's why you love them. But shit.
Well, and a free plug to this particular company. This is Atlas targets that these are set up on, and they're cut here in South Dakota and sent out distributed nationwide. Mm-hmm. And they make some of the best tone for shooting that I've ever found.
Again, God bless them. I just bought $500 worth of their targets
to go with the 1,000 you already had.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, it's coming from the guy who has 2 plate racks, 4 silhouettes, and I don't know how many stake targets.
12 currently.
Yeah. That's you or me.
Oh, I was talking me. I got I have the 4 silhouettes. I have the 12 out there on the range that go to 300. And then a scattering of small ones too, plus the ones I just ordered. So yeah. And then on top of you have just as many. So
yeah, and the spinners and all the rest.
Yeah,
as well. We kind of have a thing for steel targets here.
Steel targets are where they're at.
That is where they're at.
So let's back up a little bit. And what prompted you to build this system?
Absolutely. So let me ask you guys a question before I answer that. What do you guys normally use when obviously you guys use steel, right?
Yep.
Is that predominantly what you use, or is there more than just steel?
I use steel on my range.
I use a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. I still do a lot of paper targets, but that's when I'm traveling doing handgun classes and stuff like that. It's easier to pack around a 10-gun range with paper targets than it is with steel, especially when I'm giving qualification scores.
So let me break that down a little bit. Look, at the end of the day, training, right? Just train. That's what you need to do, right? But as we say, you can train smarter, and there's more efficient ways to train. So let's look at paper, for instance. You go down range, you set up a piece of paper, whether it's just a simple bullseye or you got one of those fancy, what are they called? The bright targets, or like the battleship games or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. That target is just sitting there. It's not moving. It's not prompting you to do anything. It has zero interactivity whatsoever. And what's worse is you're constantly going downrange, depending on the caliber. Now, regardless of what caliber, you're replacing that thing a lot.
Or at least pasting it.
At least, yeah. All right. So you're wasting a lot of time doing that. You got a lot of effort or a lot of energy wasted on that, especially if you're like a training entity, or if you're trying to if you have like 10 law enforcement officers on a line and you constantly have to send people or send them down. You've now spent, 60 seconds of shooting with 5 minutes of replacing targets. And not only that, it's a safety issue too. I don't know about you guys, but I've been to ranges where people have been down range and people have started shooting. It's not good. Now, steel targets, right? There's immense benefits to those. There's the longevity. There's that awesome feeling of when you hit it, that sound, that instant rapport that you get back from them. But at the same time, a steel target by itself it's static. It just sits there, right? And so what I was doing when I initially got into firearms, I started out with a Smith & Wesson M&P 15. I did the stereotypical thing where I started adding optics and all the cool guy shit. And then I'm like, oh man, I need a handgun. And then I need a shotgun. And then I was like, oh shit, I need 5 more ARs, right? Like we've all been there.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, we all stopped at 5 too.
Yeah, that's right.
5's magic number according to Iraq veteran 8888.
Great advice. Yeah, so here I am spending, the average American has, they say according to the Pew Research Center, average American firearm owner owns eight firearms. It's about what I have too. And then you spend
allegedly.
Yeah.
I'm glad we've all seen Letterkenny here. Yeah, so you're spending all this money in firearms, you're spending all this money in ammunition, and that was even back when it was like 30 cents a round for 5.56. And then you also have like, probably a couple $100, several $100 in gear. Depends how crazy you get. And you go out to the range, and after all this money you spent and all this time you spent, you're going to shoot at a 5-cent piece of paper. And I was getting like kind of bored. Like I'd get a new gun or a new optic or whatever, and I'd put the first couple hundred rounds through it, and I'm like, okay, next. And so that's kind of where I was. And so to answer your question, Garth, there was one day back in April of 2017, and I'm in the Army. We were sitting out on one of the qualification ranges in Des Moines, Iowa. Great day. No meetings I had to be at. Nothing. I could just shoot.
You didn't have to do officer things.
You just got to do
soldier things.
Yep, soldier things. And for those of you who aren't familiar with these ranges, they have these large silhouette targets, and they actuate into an upright position. You hit them, it reads the impact, they fall back down. And you have multiple targets spaced out on a left to right range from distances 50 to 300 meters. You don't know which one's coming up next. You don't know if there's 1, 2, or 3 targets coming up.
You're not supposed.
You're not supposed to.
after you've be jumping it
off that range. That was a at home range and to see stuff out, but these were very visioned in the fact that to move these targets up. If you were looking at it ranging anywhere
And there we go. We got video back for the folks on Facebook.
Yeah, so I felt the same way, and I had a few steel targets, the stabbers that Garth, I think you have, that just stab in the ground. I'm like, man, it'd be great if I could just stick something on those and emulate a pop-up target, right? And so I'm an engineer, and I started to nerd out. And I went to Radio Shack and got some Raspberry Pis. I went to Menards and got some Ethernet cable plugins. And I kind of raided the dumpster because at the time my company was redoing their phone lines and they had a bunch of Ethernet cable. So I went back, watched YouTube, and I learned how to do basic coding, and I learned how to make basic circuitry, and I ended up just building this thing, right? So these little things that stuck on, and you would have laughed, right? It was hobby servos from Radio Shack inside a 3D printed housing with note cards duct taped to the
So the little bit of inside baseball. Tyler and I have known each other for a minute,
yeah,
and he called me not long after that. Hey, I got this idea.
yeah.
And I was like, okay, sounds good. And like, neat. I'd like to look at this when you get going with it. And then he showed me this, and I went, oh. Now, if you could make this wireless, this would be amazing.
Now, the whole, like, the most interesting part of this right now to me is that you actually found a working Radio Shack.
No, this was 2017.
This was
Okay,
2017.
okay.
Yeah.
But still, at that point, he found the last one.
Oh, apparently.
Yeah.
It's in a weird time vortex.
Yeah.
I mean, he did say he was living in Iowa.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
So
that-
time vortex. That's like it's like running on Canadian time.
Yeah.
You know, where we are in the year 2021, but to them, it's like 2011.
I would say like 94. Kurt Cobain's huge up there right now.
Oh, I don't know. We all watched How I Met Your Mother.
Oh,
And-
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
and
American classic.
Yep, and they're a little ways behind, but
Well, actually, we live on the border. We are, the business has relocated to Brookings, South Dakota. We are relocating to Brookings, South Dakota. But at the time in 2017, that Radio Shack was actually in Illinois. And I don't know if you've ever been there, but your skin starts to crawl the second you go on there, and your NFA senses start to tingle, and
just where you cannot own like the forbiddens.
It's like where you're driving across and you're like, oh shit, did I check my trunk? But that never happens.
No one has ever illegally moved a firearm through Illinois.
Negative.
No.
So anyway, ended up building this thing, and you know, it was funny because I got all these weird looks when I was going out to the gun range, and I'm literally laying 100 yards of Ethernet cable, and people are like, "Are you gonna detonate the berm?" And I'm like, "You'll see." And yeah, it was actually pretty cool. And to Dooley's point, it got to a point where I was, hey, I want to make this wireless because this 300 yards of Ethernet cable is getting ridiculous. And that's where my YouTube technical expertise fell short. I got a little frustrated. I'm like, you know what? This is great. I'm just going to take a couple grand, go buy something that attaches to my steel targets. Went online, couldn't find anything. And that's at that point, I took that money that I was going to spend on these devices and I sunk it into a provisional patent. And from there, I got linked up with the Small Business Administration, Entrepreneurial Development Center in Iowa, the Economic Institute in South Dakota, and they really helped me develop this, get some working capital. We went out, we hired an engineering firm, and we just got the ball rolling. And, you know, my joke always is, if you want a challenge, right, be a mechanical engineer that starts an electronics company during a global pandemic and a trade war, you know?
Yes, because why not make things as difficult as they can be?
Get some. It's like starting a real estate company in 2008, right? Like you know it's a solid business plan. So anyway, the point being is we're now getting there. We're seeing that light at the end of the tunnel, and we're coming out here later this fall, early winter, sometime in November, as we get stuff squared away here.
Yep. So we've talked a little bit about the where it came from, and we did a real brief rundown where you could see the indicators moving there in the background, and see that like I'm holding a brick-like object in my hand, and this is kind of the brain of the operation, correct?
It's the hub. It's the central control hub. It's the base station essentially. So So kind of going back into how it works and key benefits, right? Your phone connects to the hub, the base station, just like you're connecting a Bluetooth speaker or something along those lines. And you all do that. You do that all through the app. Once your phone connects to it, this guy's sitting near you, like on your shooting bench, on your shooting bag, whatever. And it's actually creating what's called a mesh network with all of the devices that are out on the range. And the devices that you can have on the range are smart target attachments and signal repeaters. So it's kind of acting like its own individual web internet. It's each one of these devices is connecting and talking to each other and relaying messages. And so you can take this guy out to well over 1,000 yards by the time you start relaying messages in between signal repeaters and these smart target attachments. And I guess
so you're talking with a repeater being able to run ostensibly infinite, because it's line of sight, which not even that, because it's radio waves, so you do like theoretically could bounce off the ionosphere, but like that takes a way bigger signal than what you're doing. So sorry, nerd things.
Yeah. And there's a lot of nerd things in this, right? Like this is a tech product. But here's the thing: at the end of the day, it connects through the app, just like you're using. Well, actually, here I'll hold it up. It connects just like a Bluetooth speaker or anything else that you're used to. You guys can see the sliders on the side, the individual names, signal strength, battery life, etc.
Yep. So if you picked up one of these systems, how I'm not trying to say how long for round count, because it's going to run as long as your steel target's alive.
Mm-hmm.
But how long before you need to change the battery or charge it? Because it's I see that there's a port on the side of it that looks like a USB-C.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's correct. So each one of these devices has a built-in rechargeable lithium-ion battery. Right away, you should be able to get up to 8 hours of battery life, and that's all dependent on how many devices you have in the system. The more devices you have in, the less battery draw, because the majority of the battery draw is going to actually turn that active target indicator. You're using a USB, waterproof USB-C charging port. That's what all your Android cell phones use. We tried to make it as user-friendly as possible. So, and we intended them or designed them to meet the operating environment, right? Like, sure, it's an electronic device, but this thing we know is going to operate outside in the sunlight, in the weather, and it's built to withstand that. And it's also built to withstand, drops, impacts, and especially the impacts of the bullets.
Well, that was my question, was the durability of the product itself, because I see you mount them on the head. Mm. And so as long as the steel holds up, these are solid and good to go, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've done testing with this so far. We've had a system. We actually kind of ran out of bullets because we took it up to 40,000 rounds. And that's a misconception that I had and a lot of people had. When you shoot these steel targets, yes, a bullet is very, very fast, has a lot of velocity on it, and a decent amount of momentum. But it has significantly more momentum, or to resist that momentum. It's this 3/8 inch, half-inch plate of 500 AR-15 or 550 steel. And so the steel, especially when it's angled, will really dissipate that incoming energy. And the smart target attachment really does not see a lot of forces, especially since the Velcro that's used to hold it on really dissipates it. And
for trademarking purposes, he meant to say hook and loop fastening.
Hook and loop fasteners. Sorry. Oh,
that's like Kleenex. One of those things that the common name is also the brand name.
Yep, that is. And we actually use, and so I get a lot of well, Tyler, you spent a ton of money on development on this thing. And you're telling me the best thing, and this is especially coming from the military guys, right? Because hook and loop or Velcro is a very, very dirty word, especially in the Army, because we
Yes.
all know
The ACU
the
uniform.
ACU. Oh, jeez.
Yes, let's ruin a
Yes.
uniform because you rip that Velcro back and forth, and we're so tactical.
But yeah, they're like the best thing you'd come up with was Velcro. And here's the thing, right? We did try a lot of stuff. We tried high-powered magnets. We tried double stick tape. We tried or double stick adhesives, I guess you could say. We tried double stick foam pads. We did a lot of stuff. And at the end of the day, the Velcro, it's the simplest answer. It's the easiest answer. It's the least expensive answer. But guess what? It was still the best. It performed the best. And it's inexpensive to replace if you ever need to. It just has the right amount of dampening properties and hold properties. And we actually use a very, right now we're using a 3M, one of their very high bond, their top of the line stuff.
Yep, and that's one of those where that comes down to the Occam's razor principle.
This sounds technical.
Well, Occam's razor, it's kind of a parable and kind of not, but it's the simplest solution to a problem is generally the best.
Yep.
And that's where this kind of comes up as, hey, a little bit of sticky Velcro or hook or loop, whatever edge you want to have on. And then because I mean, if you look up here, you can see on the backside of that target, Tyler installed this system in about 10 seconds because it's okay. Yep. These targets, you put those on, take them to the range. And even if you would, for some reason, not have your systems with you, you can still shoot them. And then you put it back on and you're back to a functional pop-up range.
Yep, absolutely. Now, if you don't mind, one of the things, like I kind of want to direct the conversation back to the so what, right? So we kind of know what it does, but what are the benefits to that, right? And there are a few. So first off, again, you have complex and dynamic training. You don't have something that's just sitting there, right? You have random targets popping up at different locations on the range at various distances. It's really meant to emulate either enemy combatant movements downrange, or, we had a conversation on this before. What is it, like something 80% of your world is brought in visually? Yep,
80% of a normal human's world is brought in through the eyes. And the rest of it makes up through smell, sight, or through smell, taste, touch, and hearing, which is good because I'm stone deaf.
Yeah, well, that'll happen after X number of years of firearms business and Army.
Yeah. It's something like, 20 years Army and 16 of firearms instructing, and then a whole bunch of other bad life decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why when I picked up those Peltors, I just called them safety equipment.
Yes, because that's a tax write-off.
Yeah. So is the suppressor.
Yes, indeedy.
Yeah. So that's a big point, right? We go to, for those of you who do shoot competitively or
Sorry, I was checking comments and it came up.
Oh, Garth.
I can't see them.
Garth, come into the screen and wave.
Hi.
Don't worry, Garth is here. He's just off screen.
Yeah, I was checking comments there and it popped up. So.
Yeah, I've kind of come into your house and booted
fine.
you over. I apologize.
You are fine.
I'm a big dude. I'm 6'2", so I need my
Well,
leg room.
Here's the thing: you're 6'2", but you're still the smallest guy in this room.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that is a very valid point.
Anyway, so you're getting those dynamic targets, but then not only that is you're looking for visual cues, right? So for those of you who shoot competitively, which I know you guys do,
yes.
How does a competition start? Like, how do you know when to start shooting?
Well, it always starts with something that doesn't lie. it is a generally like a little blue box that has an LCD screen on one side, and it lets out a tone that shuts your brain off.
Yeah.
Yep.
It goes beep, and then every plan and thought you had goes out the window.
I forget how to shoot a gun as soon as the thing goes off. I can look at that range 100 times, but as soon as that buzzer goes off, I forget everything I had thought of leading up to that.
Yes, and I just turn into a giant bullet hose.
Don't do Magnum. Don't do Magnum. Damn it. But yeah, so you're listening for that shot timer beep, right? That's not necessarily here, right? You're looking for that visual cue when to engage, and that's true for whether you're military, law enforcement, or in a home defense situation, right? You're not going to hear it.
Well, so like years of running military ranges and stuff like that, and even on like if anybody's watched like the old Dirty Harry movies, where they would walk through and you would see those targets popping up in their shoot house towns, where they would walk through and shoot, like in the movies. It was always either a target that would be sitting, hope this is the target you shoot at, as it pivoted one way or the other, because they ran pivot targets before they ran pop-ups. And if they wanted to run pivot, or actually the original pop-up target did not have any actuator other than a man. And like I have done this before in competitions for the Army, where you're in a pit and you have a paper target and you run the target up and they get whatever the time is.
So you're the reason we got to do those damn safety briefs.
Oh, 100%. And then they shoot at the target, and then you grab the target and pull it down, and then you score the target, and then, put another one on and send it up, or paste it and get it all ready to go for the next iteration of fire. Which, that's one of those where, what do you do? Oh, we're doing targets first today. Oh, okay. What's that mean? It means we're going to go down in the pit and they're going to shoot at us. And granted, you're under like behind 12 feet of dirt and concrete, and there's absolutely no probability of anything ever hitting you. You still have bullets snapping over your head all day,
which are surprisingly loud.
Yes, very much so.
That's one thing I never knew before I got shot at was, that stuff coming by you. Whew, that's actually pretty loud.
Yeah. Oh, it's even at like 12 feet above you. It is popping loud enough where you still want to wear earplugs. Mm. Even my deaf ass. But no, so those things are all very much so true. And where you go through that, and like that is the evolution of pop-up targets. Was first you had a guy with a paper target that lifted the target up. Like I know that 2 weeks ago, or well, it would have been at the end of August 28th, they had the Winston P. Wilson Master of Arms Small Arms Competition combined with AFSAM, which is a multinational NATO country shooting competition that took place at Camp Robinson in Little Rock, Arkansas. And there is a match at that called the Movers match. And they have a 4-foot by 19-inch target that is on a stick. And they have 4 guys walking with a stick. And as they're walking across, granted, it's like a 12-foot tall stick, and everyone is shooting at the target as it's moving. And that is the oldest iteration of a pop-up target. and probably the least safe. But you went from that to a pivot target to the system that the military and law enforcement and large-scale commercial ranges use now, where they move that entire plastic silhouette, and plastic would be the easiest, most common thing to say for that, because those get left out in the weather, and the batteries die on them and stuff like that, and it either hits by breaking a focused beam of light or by just the impact on the target itself. So what you have done is taken those systems that cost thousands and thousands of dollars and like made this applicable for the average shooter.
Yeah, exactly. You know, those state-of-the-art systems that we're using in the military, they're about $9,000 for a single target. And we've, by simply changing the form factor, meaning we didn't get tunnel vision in the fact that the target had to move in some way, whether it was flip up or, as you said, rotate. And we changed it down into this essentially $200 consumer electronic device, and that's just like what the MSRP is of one of these devices. We have various packages available, designed for different types of shooters. Whether you're looking for an entry level system, which starts out at $399, whether you're a PRS shooter who's looking for more distance, or like a somebody who's more interested in our combat pack, which is intended for those individuals who want to do like variable optic training between 1x6 or 1x6 power scopes between like 50 to 300 yards. We kind of have something for everybody. And the whole idea is that this system is modular. So at a minimum, you need a control hub, a smart target attachment, and your phone or tablet. And then after that, at any point in time, you can buy and add in additional devices to expand the capabilities of your system. So a lower cost upfront to you guys, and then you can grow with it, just like your weapon system, right? You don't go out and, when I bought my first AR, they put a $1,500 AdCore Bear in front of me with a $800 aim point, $1,000 worth of ammunition, and then they started putting all the Magpul shit in front of me. And next thing I knew, I was looking at a $300 gun, or no, it's not a high point. It's a $3,000 gun. And as a 22-year-old just boot, I was just like, no, can't do it. But at the end of the day, I ended up spending that. But I did that over the course of a year.
Everyone say it with me now. Just as good.
Oh. So
yes.
Then I got a question on the system itself. Then, as you said, you can grow with this system. Maybe explain the functionality of it. Like, you can set, obviously, with your tablet or phone, your parameters for them popping up, or maybe just explain that real quick to us.
Yeah, sure. So right out of the gate, we have training. We call them scenarios, right? Because they're not necessarily games. They're not necessarily drills. They're all of the above. And you can change what we call the parameters in each one. So right off the bat, we're launching with basic combat, and you can manipulate how long your targets are up, how much time in between each target, how many targets come up at one time, and how often do the targets present themselves to you. Let me kind of pull this up right now. I don't quite know how well this is coming over from a tablet onto the visual point, but here's everything that I just described. And once you have everything set up, you can actually save your custom settings to be used later. And once you hit start, it will count you down. Eventually you'll have the option with or without the beeps. Yeah, whew, that's loud.
There you go.
So you're getting everything in real time. You're getting your split times. Let them miss one here. Your overall time, your split times, your average, your reaction time, which is the average amount of your split times. You're getting everything down to the millisecond. And in addition to that, we have our own scoring system. So I don't know if you guys have ever been to, and I don't know if there's what do you call it, copyright infringement here, but there's a scoring system, right? And it's kind of based off of the Army's PT system in a way that you get 100 points for how many targets you hit. You get 100 points for your speed. And then eventually when we come out with some more devices, you'll get 100 points for your accuracy, meaning how many rounds you actually spent. And that will come in to evaluate your score down to 3 decimal points. So it's really accurate in that aspect.
Well, that is an amazing amount of information that, as you get into that and talk about the different applications, like you'd already mentioned a PRS program. This is just like, as my nerd brain flows here, the ability to measure things down, like getting into the 3rd decimal points in a second, where you're, talking about, doing things in thousands. That kind of data for a PRS shooter, if you have a known target at a known distance and knowing your approximate flight time, is an amazing piece of data to have, because if you do your muzzle velocity, that'll actually help calculate things out even better to range, to dial in that accuracy even more.
Mm-hmm.
And more important that it's, if you needed to, you could be explaining how much actual energy you're putting on an impact if you were looking at doing extreme long range hunting or even just popping prairie dogs.
Right. And God, I love the pink mist, man. For those of you who've done prairie dogs, you get what I'm saying. So here's the thing, right? I don't want to intimidate people with the fact that, oh, this is a lot. This is too much, right? It's
yeah. There's a lot of science, and I'm sorry, I nerd out easy.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, right? So this type of thing is, well, one of the questions is, who's this for, right? Is this meant to be a PRS thing? Is this meant to be a competition thing? And the idea here is that it's for everyone. Again, I just meant to make it affordable in relative to the state-of-the-art stuff that's out there. And so it's for competition shooters, military, law enforcement. There
Back
goes
to the blooper reel.
There goes our Glock perfection. It goes back to pretty much anybody can leverage it in some way, shape, or form. Whether you're a competition shooter, right? You're getting your split times down to the millisecond, and it's actually giving you true split times. And this is something that Dooley pointed out to me way early, is that if you're using a shot timer, shot timer is really only measuring how fast you can miss, because it's reading the report from your rifle. And if there are other people on that range, your shot timer ain't worth shit, because it's picking up everybody else's stuff. With this, you're only reading when the target gets hit, because it's reading that impact. So you're getting true shot times.
And you can run it suppressed.
Suppressed. Yeah, that's true. You can run it suppressed. And right now, we're doing all sorts of testing. And at the end of the day, I just did it because I wanted to be, I've gotten a lot bigger into training over the last few years, but I wanted to do it just to have more fun, to enjoy shooting even more than I already did. And when I'm out testing with my engineers, who are, by the way, one's a former Cav Scout, one's a former Marine. I laughed because the Cav Scout got...
So what, the Cav Scout picks out pretty colors and the Marine eats those crayons?
So it's funny you say that. Have you seen that Crayola? Have you seen the Crayola cereal that just came out?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, he bought him that. And that is sitting on the guy's desk. And it's a good time. So we go out and we're doing this testing, and I get caught up in competing with these guys, because at the end of the day, I'm kind of looking at the score, because that's ultimately a roll up. And then I forget that I'm paying these guys like $140 an hour. I need to stop that shit. Actually, I need to actually do real testing, because I get swept up in how just great training and how fun it is.
Yep. So, like, having the capability to run this and run these systems like this, I see a ton of value in this for training, not just on like this is great for somebody setting up like a department or unit level training plan if they had a large system. The other part of this that I love is, as an individual...
I'm sorry, look at my wife's post.
Yeah, I know. I read that and giggled. But
the prairie dogs.
As an individual who does a lot of training, and isn't or spends a lot of time training others. There are times when I go to the range where I don't want to have to think about what drills I'm going to do. So it's kind of like having that range book or that deck of cards or whatever it is where, hey, I want to go do this and we'll work on these drills, where you can pull up this app and run whatever the app is that you have set up and run those scenarios through. And then you're like, yep, you have like, all right, this scenario, let's go. It's just go time, and you can kind of shut off your brain and go to running and gunning.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I said, you can save it, you can pull it up later. It's all your settings are absolutely interchangeable.
Now, do you offer flags I'm sorry, shooting or was it target indicating
active target
indicators?
I know it's a lot, right? Because at the start of this thing, like when you start a new company, it's crazy because you got to think of like things that like I've had multiple jobs, right? And you come in and there's already, your non-disclosure agreement, your HR paperwork, your part numbering system, your reporting, all your standard operating procedures are already made. And so when you start a new company, you got to think of some of this stuff like, what do I call this thing? How do I describe it to my vendors? What part numbers do I use? And so at the end of the day, originally the reason Dooley's getting tripped up is we call them flags at the start, and they're not, right? At the end of the day, what they're doing is telling you which target to engage. In the sense, it's that pop-up aspect, right? And in this case, the signal to the user or the shooter on which target to engage is which target is active, and that's done with a rotating high visibility placard. And I know maybe some of you out there might say, well, you're sitting here toting the fact that you're looking for downrange motion, yet it's not really realistic to shoot at a fluorescent orange flag. And sure, that might be the case, but this is just what we're starting with. We'll be coming out with more active target indicators, looking at green, looking at maybe.
I just looked over and saw a box for night vision back there, and went, how about an IR one?
We could eventually definitely do an infrared one. Who knows? Maybe you're Russian or Chinese or North Korean camouflage, so then you are truly looking for motion. I mean, not saying
fleck turn, whatever the, what's the new hot one now? Desert night vision camo, DNC. Like I've been seeing that, and I'm like, this was a thing in 1991.
It all comes back around.
Now I have a question that some people might like doing, specifically for hunters.
Sure.
So when you look at this, like this target system is fairly small. I mean, as you can see, these are both IPSC AC zone steel targets, and it fits well behind the head on that AC zone target. So it would on like a 6 or 8 inch Colt stake popper that goes in the ground, hide well, or even one of the ones that's like the size of a prairie dog.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to ask an odd question that's going to trip you up.
Would expect nothing less.
What is the weight that can be turned on those indicators? Because I want to know if I can tape a hand warmer to it and use it to do active thermal targets.
Jesus, that is some red-green type shit right there. And I guess I've really dated myself. Anybody ever seen the Red-Green Show, right? But like I said, these started out with duct tape. So
that is actually how you zero a thermal rifle optic.
Sure.
You get hot hands and open them, break them open, get everything going, and then you duct tape them to your target.
Sure. Yeah. So these active target indicators, they can. Well, let me give the technical answer. The technical answer is that Smart target attachments are meant to be used with active target indicators, and that's what they are designed for. Now, however you proceed to alter them after that fact is not encouraged, right? But at the end of the day, right, from the engineering answer is the more weight that you're adding to the servo that it actually has to turn, the less you're going to decrease the life expectancy over time. Because at the end of the day, the heavier stuff is to move, and I get it.
The more energy.
Yep, exactly. There's the nerd shit coming back out.
Now you got me going now. Now I want to know something. I want to know about caliber usage. I mean, is it 22 going to set these things off? Is it it's going to have enough force?
Yep.
Okay.
So the question was, what calibers can you use with this thing? And the simple answer is a 22 to 7.62 by 51 millimeters. So 308, right? Can you technically use a 50 cal? Nah, at the end of the day, it's all about muzzle velocity, energy, right? Energy. And energy is affected by a lot of stuff if you know shooting. Caliber, barrel length, size of target, distance from target, etc. So there are target sensitivity settings in the settings of the app that you can change these, right? So you'll just have to change to the setting that it either works with the particular type of thickness and caliber that you're using. And that brings up another great point, right? Is that's another major benefit to the system is that Trigger Interactive is not locking you into or requiring that you use some type of proprietary target, right? So I've kind of touted these high-end pop-up systems that cost $9,000. Are there cheaper systems? Yeah, there are. As cheap as inexpensive as Trigger? Probably not. But the problem with a lot of them that are out there, they still cost thousands of dollars, but they require you to either use some type of proprietary target that you constantly have to replace. And again, you don't have to replace these. And you can use almost any type of steel target you want. I really like using the IPSC. It's more, it's meant to emulate the torso, but you can use stabbers. You can use IPSC targets. You can use almost anything you want, as long as
probably even put it on a raccoon target.
Yeah, you can put a raccoon target. As long as you would make sure that the smart target attachments are spaced off far enough, which is about 20 feet, that you're not catching shrapnel from another target, you're golden. Use what you want and from who you want, any manufacturer, size, type, shape.
Well, that really brings it up where you have to space the targets out a little bit. I know we've talked about it before where I've talked about going through some of these different exercises we put out. So if you have those targets at, say, you're using 75 yards across the range, so you have your left and right limits up and you're 25 yards apart, you have to really drive that gun in order to get fast times. Where, like, if you had your three target array and running a bill drill, like, that's a where you put a modified bill drill, bang 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 bang, reload, bang 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 bang, where you would shoot each target a total of 6 times. Then I shouldn't say it. Each target would get shot a total of 4 times, but you would have a reload mixed in with it. Like, I'm just saying drills that I would make up and run with it.
Sure. Yeah, it's versatile. You set up your scenario how you want and run it. The idea is to be able to customize not only the system itself, the number of devices, the type of devices, but also the scenarios themselves. Do tailor it to your training, whether, again, you're just plinking, whether you're doing competition, whether you're training for like a law enforcement military purpose, or even just like a competition or PRS purpose.
Well, that is awesome. And So if they want to find out more, or maybe even order one of these systems, where can they go to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So triggerinteractive.com. We do have a very good product video right there on their main page. Check it out. It explains it very well, kind of goes through some of the stuff that we've done. And right now, if you're listening to this, we're taking pre-orders. Go to our store at triggerinteractive.com/store. You get 15% off plus free shipping. And just
Now,
follow the instructions at the top.
That is a solid value. So I put the screen up here on so everyone can look at this website as we were talking about it, and you can see the animations and things like that, just to explain how they work, and so you can show it on something other than the target we have behind us. Even though, I mean, these are a great target behind us. You can see they have the store icon there, so you just click on that, click through, and follow the instructions. And so that is where they find you. How about on the social medias? Because you also have, like everybody does, a Facebook, a Instagrams, a
Yeah, we're on all that millennial stuff and yeah, Facebook.com, Instagram, LinkedIn, you name it, we're there.
Well, that is awesome. Garth, do you have any more questions or comments about this thing?
No, I think we're pretty good. It was a great interview and a really fun system to learn about. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm sure you just sold another one.
Yeah, I mean, I got all the steel. I've got to have some interaction with it, right? So,
yeah, then he's going to be, guys, just come on, it'll be fun. But no. That is great. And you know what? It's almost as great as one of our other sponsors.
It is. Patriot Patch.
PatriotPatch.co. So while we've been talking about this, I made a joke earlier about that blue box. And they make one of my favorite patches. And it is a picture of a shot timer. And it says, "The timer don't lie." And when you look at the timer, it just says, "You suck." And I love that patch. It's one of my favorites. And it is a great one to have. They make the commemorative tin signs as well, along with, you know, the rifle cleaning mats, as they call them, also known as the best mouse pads in the business.
They do. They also do a sticker variant of most every patch they have.
Yep.
So,
in case you're more into stickers than patches,
throwing them on the safe, man.
Yeah, fair enough. Some of us have a couple to cover.
Yeah, a few. So,
but with that, you can find us, Garth, where?
AR-15 Podcast 2.0 at gmail.com, AR-15 Podcast 2.0 on the Instagram, AR-15 Podcast on Facebook. And I think that's oh, no, we got the Teesprings as well.
Yep.
That's in our
you can find the links to that along with all of our affiliate links at firearmsradio.tv/AR-15 podcast.
Exactly. That's where they can find us. And beyond that, you know what I'm going to say? Happy trails until we meet again.
Tyler, do you got anything for everyone tonight?
No, I really appreciate everybody's time. I really appreciate everybody tuning in and letting me be the first live interview. I feel really honored.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you got to see all of the magic of in-studio setups for targets and things of those nature. So thanks for coming on, and everybody out there, you guys stay safe and stay armed.